How's it going, guys? Welcome to Audio Addiction. We have PhasesLM with us tonight. She can say her name and what she does in her band.
So I'm PhasesLM. I also go by the name Paula to every other people in my life. I'm an electronic musician here in San Francisco. I write and produce. Just came out with a new EP, and that's what's going on.
Awesome. Well, I asked this to a lot of people that I have on the channel. How did you start out, Paula? Who got you into music more specifically? And what started you kind of on your journey as an artist, musician, things of that nature to where you're at now?
Wow, that's kind of a big question.
You can take as long as you want to answer it.
Okay. I would have to say probably my mom. She's the one who got me piano lessons when I was 9. And also she was like super supportive of me pursuing music, and she loved music herself. She loved like Broadway musicals. She loved music from the 40s. She also played piano. Like I remember I would go to bed at night and then she'd play piano in the living room, and it was really, really nice. I started playing piano at 9. I was a horrible piano student. I started playing saxophone at 9. I was a better saxophone student. Took guitar lessons at 13. Okay, guitar. And I think, but the other thing that I think changed a lot for me was recording. I got a tape recorder at 9 also. And I just loved recording sounds. And then I discovered I could record myself playing piano. And then I discovered I could put that recording on the stereo and I could play saxophone to me playing piano while recording all of it with the tape recorder. And that's what I started doing, throughout my teens. And then finally I decided I needed a 4-track. So this was in the 80s, got a 4-track, started recording stuff on the 4-track, and that kind of led me to want to have a band.
Sure.
I went to college for recording technology. I met my husband there. We started a band. We bought ourselves a better 4-track for our honeymoon. That was really our wedding present to each other. Let's get a MIDI studio. And from there, moved to Delaware, was in a lot of bands, decided Delaware really didn't have a lot going on for my music. Not just in Delaware at all. Not just in Delaware. I thought it needed a different locale. So we moved to San Francisco. And honestly, at some point in there, I took a break from music altogether. Mm-hmm. And I started doing film for a little while. So I did film for a little while, started a family, started an all-mom band, and then back to music. So I've been playing in the San Francisco area for a long time now. And it comes and goes, which I think is the whole PhasesLM, phases like the moon. Sometimes I just want to play with other people and play their music. And then other times now I just need to step back and I want to do solo stuff.
Sure.
So I'm in that solo phase right now.
There you go. Well, I gotta say, the whole thing with your husband, that is very endearing. As someone who is also a musician, I would hope to, I feel like whenever you have a significant other that also likes music, it can be very interesting. And so do you ever, obviously you were in a band with your husband, do you still create music with him and still do stuff with him in terms of that? Or is it more so I don't want to make it seem like you're being narcissistic or anything, but you're man, I want to write my own stuff and and continue that ideology a little bit?
He's really into producing.
Okay.
So we have collaborated on recordings I've done where he gives me a lot of input. And sometimes I'll be I don't know, this isn't working out. And he's no, I hear what you're trying to do. Let me just take a look at it. And I'll be okay, you just take a look at it because I am so done with this. And then he'll go downstairs and he'll fix the drums, or he'll the bass, if you just did this one other thing to the bass, and he'll do those things and make it better. And so, he's still there for me in that way, which is really great.
That's awesome. Well, it's good to hear. And like I said, it's something for me to aspire to. I've been doing this whole channel thing for 5 years, so I have a girlfriend now, so I'm hoping to incorporate her into the channel at some point or another. But how, I guess, like, being, recording and all that stuff over the time, like, is there things that you kind of picked up, like, and just like grown from? I know, like, I don't know if you were creating the same music you were back then as you are now, but like, what really got you into like more electronic music? Has that something that's always been a focal point for you, or is it something that's happened, like, I would say more recently, where you're like, man, I'm really inspired by like electronic music and I want to kind of see what my options are there?
Um, as a little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, I've always really liked synthesizer in music. Like, like the Cars do
Yeah.
synthesizers really well, but they're more of also a standard rock band. And I think that's where I started, because I played bass and guitar,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
but I wanted the synthesizers in there. Um, and then I don't know, I guess I had to like really, for myself, I really had to like focus on one instrument as like getting more proficiency. Like I could play those things okay. But to be in bands, I decided to be a keyboard player. And so I focused a lot more on keys. And then from there, I got into like, like synthesizers like Moogs.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm really into soft synths. I've been like messing around with Serum. Um, so I think it's been a progression of like liking the sound to like getting more into the guts of electronic music. And also just what I can do solo without
Sure.
having to bring in other musicians.
And I'm sure it's a lot easier to have it all consolidated to you, where you're able to work on it in your own free time and stuff. You did mention that I assume you have kids and stuff like that. How do they kind of view that? Because like, my family is not musically inclined, so I always wonder, like, if my parents were like musically inclined and were making music still, like, what they would think. Like, is it cheesy for them, or they're like, you could do it, mom, like, we like you, keep doing what you do? Because to me, I think that aspect of it, and obviously shout outs to Erica from Muddy Paw for recommending me to you, but that was like something that enticed me, because I've never had anybody, I don't think I've really had anybody on here that has like kids and they're like, older and have been creating music for a lot longer than I've probably been alive for. And so I think it's really interesting. And like, so do you think your kids like have that sort of endearment that I kind of have for your music and stuff like that? Or they're like, mom, maybe it's time to like kind of like rein it in a little bit?
Well, that's interesting as a good interesting question. I think okay, so both of my kids love music.
Okay. So that would
Um,
make sense. Yeah.
my oldest one, and he's like in college, so he makes music on his own, but he doesn't like share it a lot with me. But he does, like I gave him some of my keyboards, my older keyboards, and he has them, and he records on his own. I hear him in his room sometimes because of the pandemic. He's back home, so I know he's making music on his own. So I mean, and that's really cool. And then my youngest son, he is like really into all the stuff that I've never heard before, but he's also into older things that I like. Like he went through a Smiths phase.
Okay.
All right.
Good. Yeah.
Um, but then he listens to like electro swing. He listens to like a lot of let's see, who else has he been into? If I Jack Stauber, like this
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
yeah, he listens to that kind of stuff. So I think he likes what I do. At the same time, not necessarily his thing, but
Sure.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, I don't feel like either of them are like embarrassed by me yet, but I'd like to believe I had a positive influence on them.
I mean, if they're both creating music, I feel like that's at least I what I would assume is a positive influence, and so, hopefully it all goes well. I'm sure they're gonna probably watch this at some point, and they'll probably comment below or something. But I always that was something that I found really interesting, like I said, because to me, like, I've been doing this for a good amount of time, and it's always interesting to get other people's viewpoints in terms of like music. And obviously you're very seasoned and you've been doing this for a long time, and so it's interesting that that's something that you passed on to your kids. Obviously, it's a positive thing. At least I would say it is, because I'm a music fan. So obviously kudos to that, and obviously kudos to you still making music. But I guess, who specifically are you influenced by? I'm sure there's a broad spectrum of bands that influenced you, but like more specifically, I guess, who got you started like influentially wise, and then who influences you more currently now?
Um, I'm sorry, my cat keeps jumping
It's
into my
okay.
lap. Let's see. Okay, so in total honesty, like the first artist that like made me want to learn guitar was Rick Springfield,
Okay.
um, and that that's like I guess a guilty pleasure now.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, but I went the gamut of like I was into The Cure for a while, I was into Motley Crue for a while, I was into punk for a while, like local punk shows too, like not you know, so I guess everything influences you though as a musician, right?
Sure.
You
Yeah.
go to the symphony, you hear this amazing symphony that like you yourself would never write or create, but there's parts of it that like stick with you.
Yeah.
Um, these days, I listen to a lot of things, I guess. I like Robin. I like, oh, man, I feel like my musical taste stopped evolving like around 2010, actually. I was thinking about that today. Like, I was really into MGMT and Phoenix. Um, uh, yeah, I like Peter Gabriel a lot.
Okay.
I'm really
Yeah.
into Peter. Um, yeah, I don't know. I listen to a lot of different things. I put on like Spotify playlists to
Sure. Yeah.
get sense of what they're listening to. Yeah, that's a tough question.
No, certainly. And there's some, I mean, obviously, again, there's a large spectrum of things. Like, I guess, how do you find in your head the way that, like, obviously, like, there's bands that you grew up listening to as, like, a kid and stuff. And then, obviously, I know you just mentioned Phoenix and MGMT, which are, like, if you think about it, is probably completely opposite ends of the spectrum. So how do you kind of find that middle ground between, like, obviously paying homage to older bands that like you grew up listening to and seeing, I'm sure, to like newer bands like Phoenix and MGMT that like obviously have that new flavor of the month kind of a sound to it.
Well, I think when I write these days, which is different than when I started, I think more conceptually, and it's not necessarily in relation to like other people's music, although it all there's always overlap, things you
Sure.
hear you. But I think conceptually, like I write down ideas like, I want to do something that has call and response. I want to do something that has a chord pattern that is, numerically, repeating, but adds on. So I tend to write more like from that space these days. And I think some of I'm more influenced by the people I've played with recently,
Sure.
maybe
Yeah.
than the things. I was playing with this one really great band. They just released an album, actually, Nitrous M1,
Okay.
and it's kind of progressive metal. And the way she writes is really interesting and complex, and it is almost symphonic. And even though I don't have any components of like progressive metal in what I do, I loved how she would take a structure and expand on it musically, and like those types of things are what interest me and influence me right now.
Yeah, like the experiences of being and working with other artists are more influential to you now than like the Cars or something like that. That's pretty interesting. And obviously, best of luck trying out different things and obviously experimenting with your sound. But the next question would be, Paula, is people who aren't familiar with your music, PhasesLM, what would be one track you would like recommend to a new listener, people that maybe are checking out this interview and maybe aren't familiar with your music catalog? Which one, is there any specific song that comes to mind that you were like, I would recommend them?
Um, I think, well, I kind of feel like the EP works really well all together, of course, on headphones. But
Sure.
I kind of think of the song Mechanical Dogs as sort of the single because it has vocals. It's the only one that really has like traditional vocals going on in it,
Sure.
with lyrics. And then after that, the title track, Out at Night, I really like. It's kind of a fun jam, and then kind of evolves into a little bit more pop. So yeah, those two, Mechanical Dogs, which I have a video, a very DIY video out for. I don't know if you've seen that, but and then Out at Night.
Yeah, I checked out Mechanical Dog. I thought it was very cool. It was definitely a very cool music video. Obviously, it does feel like homegrown, which obviously is what I like to kind of highlight on the channel. So it does feel very much at home here. But definitely go check out PhasesLM. I'll leave a link to Mechanical Dog in the description. But the next question, Paula, is a fun one. If you were to pick a song to cover, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, I was just trying to figure this out just yesterday. I was thinking about this, and I was thinking I wanted to do something for Peter Gabriel. Uh, and of course, he had this whole album full of covers called, he'd covered people's songs called You Scratch My Back, I'll Scratch Yours. It was like 2 albums.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'm going to cover I Don't Remember. And then my husband was like, you know who covered that? David Byrne. I was like, oh, David Byrne. I can't top David Byrne. I'm
unlikely choice.
You can't top David.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. But definitely something from Peter Gabriel, like Shock the Monkeys, an obvious choice, but one of my favorites. I was going to cover some Rod Stewart from those 80s, just because it's so 80s, and to like put a twist on it.
Sure, yeah.
That's so some things I've been thinking about.
Well, people below who are checking this interview out, let Paula know if she should do Peter Gabriel or Rod Stewart in the comments, and which song you feel like she would do it justice to, because they have quite a discography, so I couldn't imagine really nailing one down, but it would be very interesting to see you cover either one of those in your style. But the next question, Paula, if you were to collaborate with somebody, have a guest vocalist or a guest person on your next record, who would you want to work with?
Well, I mean, thinking like totally anybody, right? Peter Gabriel. Or I don't know. Robin's really, having collaboration with Robin would be really cool. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of great artists out there. I like Lizzo too. That'd be fun.
Ooh, that would be interesting. I'd like to see how that would work.
Yeah,
I would go with that.
so
I would be very intrigued by that. So I'll give it the sign off. I like that. So if you want to see PhasesLM and Lizzo do a collaboration, make sure to reach out to her on Twitter. I'm sure she would be very interested to hear how that would turn out. But next question, Paula. You play guitar, you play synth, you do a bunch of other instruments. But what would be one you would want to add to your arsenal that you don't already know now?
that's easy. And I actually have the instrument, but I haven't had a chance to learn it. I have a theremin. I got it last year.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And I've messed with it a little bit. They're incredibly hard to play. Have you ever tried playing a theremin?
I've never tried. I obviously know what a theremin is, but I have never tried one. I can imagine they must be very difficult and a little bit meticulous, I'd imagine, just because your hand has to be like right in the right spot, I'm sure, to accurately hit the note.
Yeah. Like you just move it just a little bit wrong and you're not on the pitch anymore.
I'm curious how you went about acquiring a theremin, because that sounds like either some sort of like garage sale find or a music find, I'm sure, of some sort.
It was a gift. It was a gift from my
Really?
husband for my birthday.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so you asked for it. That's very interesting. Is there any particular reason why you decided to choose a theremin?
I love their sound. I
Okay.
love the way it sounds. You listen to the people on the YouTube videos of people playing theremin really well. I think Carolyn Ike, I think, is the name of the woman who's like just masterful at it. And it's so beautiful, but I think it must be like playing a stringed instrument, like violin or something, where
Sure.
like, years and years of work went into it. But if you don't know what you're doing,
It could sound horrible. I can guarantee that. Yeah, that I would imagine so. That's very cool. I don't know if I would be. I mean, it seems very interesting, but I don't know if I have the time of life to dedicate to a theremin. So I have to give kudos to you, Paula, for taking on that very mountainous choice of instrument. But the next question, Paula, kind of speaking to a lot of, obviously, the artists you've had on already or talked about, If you were to compile a dream lineup that would obviously include yourself, who would you want to be on it?
Oh gosh, wow, that's um, I don't know. You like a dream band, like put together a
Dream,
band.
just like a dream lineup. Like if you were to like have like a show set up in San Francisco, who would you want to be, including yourself? Who else would you want to have on the bill with you?
Wow, that's who else? I like Nine Inch Nails. I think Nine Inch Nails
Okay.
and I would work well together.
Yeah, Trent
Uh,
Reznor.
Gary Newman. Who else? MNDR. It's a female artist
Yes.
producer. I really like her stuff. Um, Maybe Grimes.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I think that would be a good show.
That
I
would be
I would
very
go to see that.
that would be, well, you're a part of it, so I feel like that's even better. The Grime. I feel like Grimes and Nine Inch Nails. That'd be a very good combination. I don't know if they've worked together anyway, but I would imagine at some point because they're kind of in the same lane. I feel like so that would be very interesting. So if you guys want to purchase tickets to the Phases LM show, insert date here, you can buy tickets for that coming local to you very soon. The next question, Paula: who is the best artist that you have seen live? I'm sure you have a plethora of artists that you can go through that you've seen, but is there any ones that particularly stick out to you that you're like really enamored by or impressed by?
Um, okay, so oh wow, and there's no recently, right? Because it's been over a year.
Oh,
It's been over a year since
yeah, a
I've
little
seen.
over a year, yeah, which is sad. I
Um,
just want to
I
say,
Yeah, yeah, and I'm hoping it's coming back.
same.
But the last two shows at South Fox Theater over in Oakland were probably two of like my favorite shows. Robin, she puts on a really great show, and then a band called Caravan Palace. My
Okay,
son really liked. I was amazed. They like blew me away. Their level for performance, it was just so fun, so energetic, like so choreographed. Um, and electro swing's fun. You can't go wrong with electro swing, right?
that's awesome.
Um,
Yeah, that would have been very cool to see them again. Hopefully, we all get back out to seeing shows very soon. So, um, but the next question, Paula, another fun one: favorite TV show, favorite movie. Do you have a favorite TV show, favorite movie?
um, yeah, I have a lot. I mean,
Okay.
what have we done for the past year? We've all watched
Yeah,
Netflix.
exactly.
Let's see. I like horror. I like horror movies and I like dark TV shows. I liked Haunting Hill House on
Okay.
Netflix. I thought that was brilliant. So that was good. I like 6 Feet Under is probably my all-time favorite TV show
Okay.
though. And then movies, wow, there's a lot to choose from. I don't know. I did try to watch every single film that Jeremy Irons has ever made during the pandemic, and I failed. But he's actually had a lot of films.
I'm sure he has had a lot of films. I'm sure he's also had a lot of time to just comb through and edit all of them and put them out and produce them. It's a tall task. It's
Yeah.
colored me impressed.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, yeah, I can't think. Priscilla Queen of the Desert is like what I always say is my favorite film. It's like a '90s indie film. Um, and then a horror film, I think I really like The Ring. That's
Okay.
a good one.
There we go. Awesome. Next question, Paula. Obviously, it's a little bit pertinent to the like pandemic that we're currently in, but if you were trapped on a desert island for the next month and there was one record you could bring with you, what would it be?
Wow. These are very hard questions.
I try to make them, try to make them a little difficult. I feel like it's a month, it's not a year, it's not all time, so it's a little more lenient.
Good point. Good point. Yeah. Um, I'm gonna go with Funeral by Arcade Fire. I really love that
Ooh,
album.
okay, yeah.
I've got my other cat here now. Sorry.
It's all
We
good.
have a lot yeah, I think that's a brilliant album, and I never get tired of listening to it and hearing new things in it. And yeah,
That's a great record. I wasn't honestly based off of the answers that you've given me so far. I was not. That was one that I wasn't particularly expecting from you. So that was a very, very odd answer, obviously in the context of the question, but definitely a fantastic record nonetheless. But um, one of the last things, Paula, what do you want people to take away from Phases LM? I'm always curious, and I always try to ask this question to people that I have on the channel because everybody looks at music from a different lens. So like, what do you want people when they come to listen to your music? What do you want them to take away from what you do?
Um, I try to write from like a place of emotional experience, and it would be really great for people to hear my music and like maybe recognize something in it. Um, and I guess also like I like to build soundscapes. I think on this EP more than anything I've done so far, that has like its own life and drama to it. So I think like there's a storytelling element that may not be exactly spelled out in lyrics or anything, because like I said, there's only one song on it that has lyrics, and
Sure.
everything else is instrumental. Um, so I'm hoping that I'm telling stories. I'm hoping I'm sharing emotions. And I'm hoping I'm making people dance, because I like dance. I like music that makes me want to dance, and I think there's a little bit of that on my EP too. Um, so yeah, those three things: emotions, experience, the story, and dancing.
There we go. Awesome. And to kind of round it out, Paula, tell them about Phases LM, where they can find you at on social media, what you have coming up, obviously, and anything else you'd like to plug or talk about.
Oh yeah, so the EP is available, I think, on a lot of platforms. I think the Apple Store, Amazon Music. It's on Spotify. And you can check out my video on my YouTube channel, which is Phases Like the Moon. You can find my webpage at phaseslm.com. I'm on Facebook. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I'm out there. Check me out. Check out the video. It's kind of silly, but I had fun doing it. And I am here to just kind of experience things and create things, and I hope other people like enjoy it, and if nothing else, get inspired that they too can experience things and create things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, go check out Phases Like the Moon or Phases LM, whatever you like, however you like to say it. I want to give a message, huge shout outs to Erica over at Muddy Paw. She had recommended me Paula, her band, and so always love to them. I always try to show them as much love as I can. So if you're interested, go check them out too. If you enjoyed this interview with Phases LM, all of the links will be in the description where you can find out about her music. Check out the music video for Mechanical Dog. I'll leave a link for that as well, so go watch that. And if you liked it, make sure to subscribe, share it. It means a lot. It helps me get out to more people like you that enjoy music, so it's always much appreciated. And huge thanks to Paula for coming on and chatting with me tonight.
Great. Thanks for having me, and a big thank you to Erica also. She's amazing.